fighting, battling, and suffering. Always. Sick and diseased forever. There is no cure for cystic fibrosis. These two words, cystic fibrosis, have been a major part of my life since I can remember. I want to introduce to you today cystic fibrosis, a genetic disease that affects not only my life, but the lives of many others all over the world. I have researched this topic in books and on websites for several weeks, but it could be said that I have experienced it my whole life. One of the very credible websites I researched is cff.org, which is Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. It is recorded that 70,000 children, teens, and adults live with cystic fibrosis, and 30,000 of those live in America, which means that 1 out of every 31 Americans who live in America has cystic fibrosis, which leads me to believe that one of you probably knows someone other than myself that has cystic fibrosis, which also stands for CF. Today I'm going to introduce you to the effects cystic fibrosis has on someone living with it, the treatments used to help fight it, and the progress that's being made to hopefully one day find a cure. The first thing I would like you to know is the effects of cystic fibrosis. Although CF affects a person's life in all sorts of ways, I'm going to focus on how it affects someone physically and what category of people it affects directly. A great way to really grasp the physical effects of cystic fibrosis is to know what it is. The Cystic Fibrosis Foundation website defines it as this: an inherited disease which causes a mutated gene to secrete too much mucus. This gene also causes mucus to be thick and sticky, which keeps the lungs, pancreas, liver, intestines, and sinuses from functioning to their full potential. Not so pretty. The main symptom of cystic fibrosis has a negative effect on the digestive system and the respiratory system. It affects the digestive system because the thick mucus lines the intestines and makes it very difficult for the nutrients that someone takes in to actually be taken in and ingested. The second system CF mainly affects is the respiratory system. Thick mucus lines blocks and clogs airways, and it creates incredible potential for serious lung infections and also makes it extremely hard to breathe at times. Now that I've told you about the physical effects, I'll introduce you to who it affects exactly. Cystic fibrosis is a disease commonly found among Caucasians and mostly in Americans living here, and it is affecting mostly Caucasians, but of course not limited to any race or country. Cystic Fibrosis Foundation Patient Registry, also known as CFF Patient Registry, posted an article on their website that showed results for the average lifespan in 2008 being 34.7 years, which is actually really great progress. The CF Patient Registry also recorded that 45% of patients 18 years old and beyond are living that long. It's very obvious that CF affects a young age, but also can affect people into their late 30s and 40s. Now that I've described to you the way it affects people, I'll demonstrate some of the treatments and tell you about some of the treatments that are taken. Okay, I have CF, but I have a very mild case, so don't freak out. It goes from mild, moderate to severe. I have a mild case, and this is what I take. Sorry, I don't mean to have a drugstore up here, but this is what I take before I eat. You take one before snacks or meals. Depending on what it is that I'm eating, sometimes I'll take two. Depending. This is multivitamins. Everyone takes vitamins, but these are my 8X vitamins, vitamins A, D, and K. That's the vitamins I normally lack. And then, let's see, breathing treatment. This is a mouthpiece that I use to put these into here, and then you plug this into a nebulizer. I don't know if any of you have asthma. I know anyone who has asthma, but it's just a little machine. It kind of looks like a vacuum. It kind of sounds like one too. It's really loud. And you just plug it in, and it turns the liquid into a mist, and you breathe it in, and it helps your lungs function better. The first one I'm going to talk about is this one. This one is Dopenix, and it opens up your airways. The second one is Pulmazine. I couldn't bring it in because it has to be refrigerated. But that one is one that breaks down into mucus. And then this one, Hypersal, which is called hypertonic safety, but I'm not going to talk about it because it's just far too long. But what it does is it makes you cough. It's salt water. And that one was actually discovered recently. It's really new. And it was discovered because of Australian surfers who had CF, who had been surfing and getting is airway clearance. This is my acapella, that's what it's called. What you do is breathe into it. And it vibrates to your lungs, it's kind of cool. But that's just for mild cases. For more severe cases, they have to buy a $17,000 vest, which shakes your whole body, and that's to bring up the mucus. Okay, so I talked about a lot of the negative, kind of scary stuff, but let's talk about the positive stuff. The final fact I want you to know is the progress that's been being made for CVS patients and the possible cure that's coming. In 1955, CVS patients were children, and just children. They weren't expected to make it past grade school, or even to grade school. In 1984, the Academic International Encyclopedia stated that CVS was a disease of childhood, and the average life expectancy was only 24 years. In 2000, it jumped to 32 years, and in 2008, it was reported at 37.4 years, which seems young, but is actually really great progress. Clearly, there's been progress made, and scientists have also been discovering new clinical trials that are being made to help find a cure. I received an email not too long ago that said that they're getting really close to finding at least some sort of cure or better treatment, which is really encouraging to 70,000 people, their families, and their homes. Today I've introduced you to the effects CF has on patients, the treatments that are being used to help treat it, and the progress that's being made. As you know now, this is a very serious disease, but there is hope that one day cystic fibrosis won't stand for just, or that CF won't stand for just cystic fibrosis, that it will stand for cure and found.
So, Lori, what did you think?
I thought it was a great speech. She had a clear preview of what she's going to talk about. The visual aids were great, supportive to her, and she had great examples and citations.
All right, Lindsay, you've got a very clear statement as your attention device. The claim is also very clear. There's a very solid thesis statement, so we know where you're going. And you had an excellent setup of what the content was going to be. You started citing your material early on, and I appreciated that. I thought the explanations were pretty good, simple and to the point. They illustrated what you were talking about adequately to give us at least a basic understanding of the malady that you're describing. I think you could have added a few more things here and there to pull in some interest. For example, the story about the Australian surfers and how that they discovered the impact of the salt water as a benefit. I thought that was interesting. Your own personal experience, I think, could have added and enhanced the speech a little bit more. But structurally and content-wise, everything is solid. It's just adding a couple of niceties. The visual materials, sometimes they are shown and not always completely explained. Like the first medication, you just kind of held up and said, I take this before I eat, and I'm not sure what it is or how it affects the way you eat or your ability to digest. Later on, we got a little bit more explanation on a couple of the things. I think that needed to be integrated a little bit more into the presentation. I thought you had a very effective presentation to the audience, good audience contact. Your voice projects pretty well. Like I said, maybe add a little bit more personal or a few more illustrations to pull in the interest, but the content data is fine. Thank you.